Courtney. How's it going?
Hey Madison, it's going well. How are you?
I'm good. I just flew back from Pullman, so I'm back home in Montreal. Today we're super excited because we're joined by Dr. Madimenos.
Felicia Madimenos is a biological anthropologist studying human health variation and the impact of evolutionary and novel factors on human biology. Since 2007, she has co directed the Shuar Health and Life History Project in Amazonian Ecuador. In addition to this, Felicia is also on the executive committee at the Human Biology Association. Hi, Felicia. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Courtney. Hi, Madison. Thank you for inviting me here today.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. So, can you tell us a little bit about your role at the Human Biology Association?
Sure, I am currently membership coordinator. So that means that memberships are vetted through me. I approve memberships for students. I approve memberships for fellows. I help kind of on the back end of the website every time you guys submit abstracts. If there's any issues, I deal with those issues or help deal with those issues at least. And I just keep track of the membership body. I also am the point person for the Student Travel Award and the International Travel Award specifically.
That's great. It sounds like you're covering quite a bit of things in your role. So to speak about the travel award, we wanted to know if the HBA offers any services or specific resources that can assist attendees with planning for their travel. So, for example, are there any partnerships with specific airlines or any discounts on accommodations or guidance kind of navigating the conference city?
Yeah, so we are a small organization. We have about 400 active members, 150 of which are students, domestic students, and a little over 40 are international students. And as a small organization, we're sort of limited in terms of human resources and even just funds. And so we do not have any partnerships with any specific airlines or any discounts on accommodations through our association. However, because we partner with the AABA, so the American Association of Biological Anthropologists, the discounts that are available for hotels are negotiated with the AABA. So the AABA blocks out certain rooms, and then you guys get a discount for a hotel stay at the conference hotel, providing that you book before February. So that's usually about the cutoff. And then if you wait a little longer, obviously the cost will increase. So there's certainly discounts that you can get there. I also recommend actually not only just early booking, but checking hotels around the conference hotel because they tend to be a little bit cheaper than the actual conference hotel. And there's there's always a number of hotels around the main conference hotel that are worth exploring. But
Yeah.
aside from that, there's no real other like discounts through our organization, unfortunately. There are ways to offset the costs as well in terms of like room sharing, which I know this is obvious, but room sharing with other students. I will say the AABA website, because they are sort of on the ground organizing the conference in concert with the HBA. They have a good website on the conference and the resources that are available on the ground each year. So if you want to learn how to like explore the city, for example, and what's the best sites to go see or where you should eat, the AAVA website, which is bioenth.org, updates this every year for each conference, and they have a lot of information there. So just recently saw that now they have a Google form for people, particularly students who are interested in sharing a room with other students. And you just plug in your name and your gender, as well as if you're a student or a graduate student or what level you are at. And then you can organize through that Google form some roommate possibility. So that might help if students are curious about how to even be able to get a roommate to share a room with.
So you mentioned student travel awards. So can you speak a little bit more about what those are and how they work and also what they typically cover?
Sure. Yeah. So the two awards that we offer for travel include the Domestic Student Award. And I say domestic, but that's US and Canada, and the International Travel Award, which is not specific to just students. It's just international sort of members in general, of which students who are first authored on a poster or a podium presentation get priority. So I guess I'll start with the Student Travel Award. Now, usually the announcements put out sometime in November or early December, and usually the deadline is sometime mid-January or mid-February, depending on when the conference is held. So it's going to be earlier if the conference is earlier. So the process involves submitting for the Student Travel Award an application that is an essay in response to a question, and it's the same question every year. The question is basically, what issues should drive research in human biology over the next 5 years? And you would submit your response to that in about 1,000 or so words, no more than that, with references. I'll talk a little bit about what that process is like in terms of sort of reviewing the applications, but the awards are for up to $750. And they usually cover the cost of travel, so however you get there, and lodging. However, it does not cover the cost of any membership fees or conference fees. So it's mostly for you to get you to the conference hotel. And I can speak a little bit more to the application process if you guys like, unless you have any questions.
That sounds great. That was our follow-up question about where
Okay,
folks get more information,
great.
and what that application process looks like.
So our website has all the updated information. So anytime you want to look into this each year, you would click onto, I think it's the student tab on the HBA website. And then I think it actually, excuse me, I misspoke. It's the awards tab. And then you scroll down to either the Student Travel Award or the International Travel Award. And so there is the most updated information each year. This year, we're giving out 5 awards, up to 5 awards for $750. This has actually recently increased in the past couple of years because it was, when I first started, I think it was $500. So we've upped the award here, recognizing the increasing costs of basically everything. And these awards are given to 5 students who have produced these stellar essays that are vetted by the entire EC executive committee. And so on the due date, including the application, students would also submit a letter of support by their advisor or from their advisor, as well as the letter of acceptance to the HBA. So your abstract acceptance letter, whether it's a podium or a poster presentation, you would include that as well as part of this application package. Whether it's in one kind of file or separate it doesn't really matter so much to me. So long as all of those documents are there. And this is all laid out pretty clearly on our website. At that point, I distribute the applications to the rest of the EC. I'll say, like, 2 years ago, there were 8 applications. Last year, there were 16 applications. So there are more students that are applying for this, so it's getting increasingly more competitive. And so deciding on the top essays is so much harder than it's been in the past, and people are, student body is stellar. So the kinds of essays that they're producing are really exceptional. So it has been quite difficult over the past couple of years. But we go over the essays. Anybody who might be associated with a student, for example, an advisor, they recuse themselves. So it's all fair across the board. And over the course of about 2 weeks, we make our anonymous decisions and vote on the top 5. based on a number of different criteria. So the biggest thing in terms of who gets priority is typically students who haven't received the award in the past. So that's the first thing. So if you have received it in the past, you're less likely to get it the next year. And applicants who are late career undergrad or graduate students, early or late graduate students, are typically favored over earlier stage undergrads. So the idea here that this award is also both for graduates and undergraduates as well. So last year we gave out a mix of the two. I believe it was like 3 graduate students received the award and 2 undergraduate students. The essays that are chosen, and it varies from year to year, so it's really hard to say like what's the sort of stand out thing for all essays. Typically it's well written. That's never really an issue at this level for students. It's thoroughly researched, and it focuses on some sort of salient topic, right? Some sort of topic that is meaningful or timely. I find that those are the essays that tend to get favored, the more timely, salient topics. Students in the past have covered topics that range from like more of a focus on research and where our research needs to go, like immunoecology, for example, or neuroecology and mental health. Others have focused on, methodologies that are changing and how we approach our research questions, including more calls for decolonization of our practices, calls for greater transparency in research. So these essays do run across a range, if you will, from more focused kind of research topical essays to the sort of more broader, like how we do research and how we should be continuing to do research moving forward, such as community engaged methodologies, for example.
Are there any common mistakes that applicants should avoid when writing their essay?
I think that the biggest thing is if it's too vague, poorly organized, and maybe even if it lacks a clear connection to the broader context of the field. Those tend to be essays that are less favored. I would say that we don't really get a lot of that. Students are, work really hard on these, and they produce really stellar essays. But I would say vagueness, lack of specificity. There have been some essays that haven't actually really addressed the question. They're sort of more focused on their own research, as opposed to like taking their research and then applying it into this question of what the future in the next 5 years, at least, of human biology research would look like. So really addressing that question is also obviously important. We try to kind of appreciate essays that are thoughtfully engaged, and also kind of address pressing questions or challenges even in our own discipline.
Well, now we know what the things to do are and what kinds of things to avoid. I was wondering if you could cover a little bit more on the International Student Awards, what those look like, and where folks can get more information about that.
Yeah, definitely. So I will say that with the International Travel Award, so it's not specific again to just students, even though I might have said that it's international travel. So it is for students and for other international members. And I work with Hilton Pereira da Silva on kind of vetting these applications. Mostly he's sort of the point person for this particular award. So any questions regarding this award should be sent to him directly. You can also CC me on it. That would be fine. But this award is for any member, again, with some priority towards students who are first authors of the presentation, and then junior faculty and researchers are prioritized over senior faculty and researchers. And this is an award that's for $1,500. Keep in mind when we talk about international, it actually excludes Canada, but Mexico is included in it. So these are basically people who work outside of US and Canada. It's a $1,500 award. There's a couple of them. I forget the number. I think we give out 2 or 3 of these, and the process is a little bit different. It doesn't involve an essay. It involves submitting a letter that justifies the need for the funds, like what the request is for, including a budget that lists the travel expenses as well as what the title of the paper, the poster that the applicant is presenting is. So that should all be included in there. And ideally also just the letter of acceptance for the abstract as well, which typically come out in the beginning of January. So that should be available by the time these applications are submitted. The application date for the international awards does change. So it's important to keep an eye out for what the next year looks like in terms of that due date or that deadline. Sometimes it overlaps with the student travel award, sometimes it's a different date. So that's important to keep in mind. And that is a separate section on the website, but still under the awards drop-down menu on the main website. I will also say that there's applicants who come from low to middle income economies are also prioritized over those who come from high income economies. But aside from that, the bulk of the submission is really just a justification of the expenses, a budget, if you will. The thing that I didn't mention for both of these awards is really important to emphasize. These are reimbursements. So that means they are not advances before the conference. You have to go to the conference in order to receive the reimbursement. So you have to make sure that you're there physically in order to get your student award or your travel award. So they're reimbursements. And unfortunately, there's many reasons for that. But providing receipts are also going to be important. So saving those receipts for travel, saving those receipts for the hotel are going to be important as well. And for anybody who receives an award, we let them know via email what the process is. So that is something that most people are well aware of once they've received the award.
If folks want to contact you with questions or comments about the travel awards or the Human Biology Association, how can they reach you?
You guys can reach me at my email address. It's fmadimenos. I'll probably spell that in just a second at cuc.cuny.edu. So that's fnadimenos at cuc.cuny.edu.